computer. Good afternoon. This is Michelle Padilla, the host of the Awareness Show, and we are coming back from hiatus. We took a couple of years off, but today I have a lovely lady who I had the pleasure of being a panelist and working with her. Her name is Kim. Kim, could you help me pronounce your last name, please?
Yes, it's Rutledge.
Thank you. And on the awareness show, I want to let my audience know I do have a speech problem, so sometimes my words are very hard to hear. So bear with me, Kim. So thank you for coming on to the show today. I met Kim at a webinar, and she is phenomenal. So Kim is going to tell me a little bit about herself and what DUR stands for, and hopefully what kind of if there's internships available for people with disabilities. So Kim, please take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for having me on today. So, as Michelle said, I'm Kim Rutledge. I am the Deputy Director of the Office of Legislation and Communication at the Department of Rehabilitation. And what we do at the California Department of Rehabilitation really is we find jobs for people who have disabilities, all different types of disabilities. And we also help people with disabilities with anything that they may need to be more independent. So kind of independent living type activities as well. So whether that's helping someone find an accessible place to live or, transportation that works for them or things they need in their house in order to be more independent, we do all of those things too. So really we're kind of all about really enriching the lives of people with disabilities and giving them what they need to, be able to succeed in the community and do what they need to do to, live life like everybody wants to. So
My question is, do they have to meet a certain criteria before they go to Department Rehab?
um yes and no. Really the big criteria to go to the Department of Rehabilitation is to have a disability that for our employment services, it's to have a disability and have that has a barrier to you being able to either find a job or keep a job. And what a barrier looks like can mean lots of different things. So, whether it's an attitudinal barrier or a physical barrier or a financial barrier, whatever it is, we're all about, or if you need more training or something like that. So really the big requirements are have a disability and have that disability be a barrier to being able to get a job and keep a job.
Exactly. And it's very difficult to get a state job. And that's one of the main programs that I've learned that they can help you finding a state job, but you have to go through the proper channels in order to get where you need to be. And that's where a lot of people who have a disability do not know the proper channels.
Right.
So, how do you make it more aware to get the proper channels? If that's the question I have for you.
That's a really good question and something that in the work I do, I really ask myself every day. I think part of the reason I myself am a person with a disability and received services. I grew up in the state of Kansas and I first received services when I was a teenager through the vocational rehabilitation program there. And then I received services again after I moved to California as an adult. And I think that part of the reason that today I do the work that I do is because I think that when you are a person living with a disability, every aspect of life is a little bit more challenging. And I think that for me, what really kind of drove my work initially is I had a job, I had a college degree, I didn't have really those problems, but a number of years ago, I had some increasing needs for personal care. And while I was working, and because I was working, I didn't qualify for other services. And I really, had to learn how to navigate the programs that did exist for people who were working to get me the help that I needed. And I realized that those systems were really hard to navigate for everyone. And I knew people that already worked on those systems. I had lots of contacts and I still had a hard time, getting the services that I needed. And so I was at the time working as a journalist, but I was considering changing careers. And I ended up, going into this work and doing more of this direct work with people with disabilities, hopefully to make those systems easier for people to access, because I think it is so hard. And so I would say that, always doing research, asking people, getting to know people that work in all of these different areas, like more times than not, especially in California,
Oh yeah.
there's a service for everybody, but it's a question of finding those services and knowing if you qualify and knowing if you have access. And I think that that's really what the challenge is. And I think that, we work, even though we're the Department of Rehabilitation, we work really closely with lots of other state departments that also provide services for people with disabilities, including the Department of Social Services and Healthcare Services and Developmental Disabilities. And I think that we're all, collectively as a state committed to making sure that if somebody comes to any one of our programs or departments, if they're not getting exactly what they need in that moment, we know where to send them to get what they need.
Yeah, and like you said, it can be challenging. It can be difficult, especially for someone who's trying to get a job and then can only get what, fast food if they're lucky.
Right,
Even with that, some jobs want you to speak bilingual and you just know English, and you have a hard time, speaking in English sometimes. So again, there's got to be a little bit change for that area for other people to get a job. So I know they want to work. It's just that they're afraid to ask sometimes.
right, right, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's really great about the Department of Rehabilitation's programs is we have counselors in offices. We have over 80 offices throughout the state of California. So whether you're somewhere like in rural Imperial County or in downtown Los Angeles, we have offices all over the state. And we have counselors who are trained specifically and understand both what the job market is like in the communities that they live in and that they work in. And they also understand disability. And, a lot of times people come to us and they have a disability and, they don't know what their options are. They think, that their future is just, getting SSI payments and not ever doing anything. But I think that, we're really committed to, making sure that everybody can find not just a job, but what we refer to as competitive integrated employment.
Yes. Yes.
So being integrated into the same workplaces and the same environments as people without disabilities and getting the same kind of wages and the same types of opportunities as people without disability.
Exactly. And then, like I said, you brought up SSI, which is a good point because there are certain people who are only getting maybe 25 bucks, 30 bucks a month sometimes. And that's not enough for SSI, to live off of, I'm saying, because they need to have prescriptions, they need to have housing, they need transportation. That's not enough. When my dad passed away, my mom's got widow separation, and SSI only gave my mom 26 bucks a month.
Oh, wow.
That is not enough. So it's just me and my mom, and she's going to be turning 70. So it's been quite a struggle, but she's happy that I'm working, and she's happy for Department Rehab because we didn't know anything services in LA. Nobody told us because Los Angeles is huge, and then they have Harbor Regional. Harbor Regional wasn't that much help. I got turned away. So then I moved up to Oxnard. That's when I got things started happening. So it's a pattern, and you just got to keep on trying and network and see what happens. But sometimes they're afraid of talking about their disabilities because they don't want to get turned down again, if that makes sense.
Right, right.
So maybe things could change for us, starting, telling them about more services and how to access that, maybe mentioning more about the LEAP program and other like job training, job coaching, all these wonderful services, which I didn't even know. So I didn't know about job coaching until I came here. So see, I was in, I fell off the curb so many times. So what do you think, Kim? Is it time for a change? Do you think so?
Yeah, and I think that really where that change starts is really before you even get to a point where you haven't have employment. I think that it really starts, whenever someone, I grew up with a disability. I was born
Yeah,
with my disability, and I was really lucky that I had very supportive parents who, always kind of encouraged me to be independent and do what I want and kind of, pursue my dreams. But I think that so many people, so many young people grow up in environments where people look at them and think just because they have a disability, they can't do anything.
yeah,
And I think that that's oftentimes even parents, even other family members. And I think that, before you even get to services, I think really the biggest change that has to be made is that attitude, is
yeah,
that,
yeah,
you ask a kid with a disability, what do you want to be when you grow up? The same way that you ask an adult with a disability, a child without a disability,
yeah.
what do you want to be when you
You
grow up?
see, I'm like you. I had two wonderful parents. Both encouraged me to step up, to try to get, hey, if I went to college and if I succeed, that's good for me. I found other avenues to pass my test. So the professors at Cal State Dominguez, they were willing to help me. So when I had my radio show, believe it or not, they gave me a topic and I would talk about the topic online and they would pass me that way. That was the only way I could pass because I have problems memorizing certain things and I lose concentration at times. And so I almost got kicked out of Cal State Dominguez. I was this close. He says, why should I give you a chance? So he gave me another chance. And then next year, we started an association called Human Services. And he saw what I was capable of doing. So it's just that one push, but at the same time, you're not always going to get lucky if that,
Right,
there's always going to be a Karen, a rude Karen, or somebody doesn't care about your disabilities. They don't care. Or if they have a seat on the bus and you know that's for a disability person, they will sit there because it's closer to the front. They don't want to sit in the back, if that makes sense.
right, right.
So I commute up here every day. I take Placer County bus. So what the bus driver did, she got a caution tape and she put it on my chair just for me so that nobody can sit in that chair because I have a hard time getting down the steps. And so every time I see her, she puts that caution chair tape just for me. So
Oh,
that
that's
one,
so great.
yeah, a lot of bus drivers don't do that, but they look out for you here, and the security guards, they know me, they know I have a disability, but it's like certain jobs they don't want you to have um, keep it to yourself sometimes. You know what I mean? They don't want you to say, why do you have a disability? There's nothing wrong with you. You know, why, you know what I mean? Does
Right.
it,
Uh,
and it's kind of sad because then you try to get a job and you're like, I have other skills that I can show you guys. Let me show you what I can do.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Michelle. And I think that that's another great thing that we do at the Department of Rehabilitation is we also do a lot of work with the business
Yeah,
community and a lot of work with employers, whether it's, I mean, you and I both work in state government, so we do a lot with the state, but we also do, a lot of work with all different types of employers and all
yeah,
around really kind of letting them know that there are, people with disabilities can still do the job the same way that everyone else can, just maybe with some adaptations and maybe like, I mean, the way that you were talking about, going to college and, how you were able to, use your radio skills and, your speaking skills as a way
yeah.
to pass. to pass your college classes, and the adaptations that we all have in our jobs to be able to do our jobs now. And I think that's kind of the other side of the coin, really, is making sure that the business community and the world at large knows that just because somebody has a disability doesn't mean that they can't do a job.
Exactly. And also having a reliable transportation to get from work into home. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, with gas prices going up and, see, I live in the suburbs, so there's not a lot of transportation really good around my area. So they stop running about 7 o'clock at night. So I'm like, okay, so I know I have this time and I have to leave at 5 o'clock. So I got lucky. I have a department that works with my schedule and they
Right,
know my mom and everything, so which is good. But other departments may not want to work with you and they won't care about your disability.
right.
If you can do the work, that's it.
Right. And I think that that's really why we do so much work with the business community as well, is just, to really provide, because a lot of people have never worked with someone with a disability before, or have, biases around that because they don't know. And what you don't know, you don't know. And for those of us who are, active and professional with our disabilities, you know, whether it's a good thing or not, we're often the ones to educate everyone else about
Yes.
what people really can and can't.
Yes. And then like there are those like, what's the LEAP program? How do I get started with the LEAP program? And I was the same way. I know the LEAP program. I'm like, I know it, but how do I get involved in it? You know what I mean? And
Right.
so I had a friend that actually helped me with it. And then once I moved up to Oxnard, she says, get a hold of your state disability council, not the council members up here, because state disability council, they can show you all kinds of different stuff. And I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know about state disability council. How come they don't tell you those things? How come they keep it like a hidden secret? You know?
Right, right.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
And
okay,
yeah. And that's the problem, is that too many of these types of resources that are out there are a hidden secret. And I think that, we're doing what we can all the time just to get more people educated. I think that, your show and the people that you're interviewing and everything is a great way to be able to do that too.
yeah. And so, like I said, once Oxnard told me about DOR, and so then later I found out, oh, I'm on the advisory committee now. I'm like, oh, okay. Things have on happening. I moved from Oxnard to come up here, and then I got more involved. And I'm like, okay, I want to. The goal was to get off SSI. I don't want to be on SSI the rest of my life. I want to have a state job where I I can actually get a paycheck and not having to worry on SSI because eventually there will be no SSI. That's because they've been talking about it for a long time and it's coming. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to get a fast food job. I don't want to get I'm done that. I want to have the job, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what's happening. So um let's see what else. We talk about that, we talk about that, and then we talked about um how about clothing? Do you guys supply clothing for people with disability to get jobs or after jobs?
Does DOR buy clothing? Is that your question?
Yes.
Um, it depends. So we will, I'm not going to go into, like, I don't really want to go into like a lot of those kind of
Yeah,
specifics,
yeah,
because it really varies. Our services vary so much based on what each individual needs.
yeah,
And so that can be a service. Yes, it's not necessarily a service for every single person, but if somebody comes in and they haven't had a job for a long time and they have an interview and they have nothing to wear, then yes, that we will
yeah,
provide assistance with those types of things. So it really, we pay for a lot of interesting things. Um,
yeah,
what people need, but again, it's very individualized,
yeah,
and it's very, there's only so much money, and we want to make sure that we're serving as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. But yeah, there's a lot of resources that we will provide to help somebody all through their process of searching for a job, getting the education they need, getting the training they need, getting
Yep. Yep.
something to wear to your job interview or things like that. Just really, all the things that you need to be able to
To
eventually
succeed.
get a
Yes.
job and keep the job.
Yes. So we're almost out of time, but you know about the state disability master plan. Yeah, I know you heard of it.
Yep, yep.
And this is actually a huge deal for California because it hasn't been done in a long time, as I've been told. Is that correct?
That is that, yeah, I don't think there's ever been a master plan, but I think that I'm not working directly on it all the time, but I have some involvement in it, and I know that it's really kind of taking a big look at how we provide services for people in California who have developmental disabilities specifically, and how the regional centers work with all of these other various systems, and really kind of finding a way to make all of these systems and all of these
Hmm.
services easier to access for everyone. So
Yeah, and it's like a huge deal, and and it's like, oh my gosh, for me being a part of it, I hope I can make some difference. But you know what I mean?
yeah, and I think, having your voice as someone who has the lived experience of living with a disability and, navigating all of these systems yourself, and then, being able to get a state job and succeed, you're exactly the type of person that I think can really help influence that change through your own personal
Yes.
experience.
And then our big event is coming up, which is next month, MD. That is a huge event for people with disabilities.
Yes, National
Um,
Disability Employment Awareness Month.
yes, and I know we're going to be at the Capitol. I think it's October, I'm going to say 10th. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to check the date for make sure, but they're going to have different agencies at the Capitol. Will you be there?
I'm not sure if I might be busy with something else that day, but I know that there's going to be folks from DOR who are there.
So, Kim, I hope we can work together on more projects. I like this. Kim, how can they reach out to you? How can they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me. My email is my first name, Kim, dot my last name, Rutledge, Rutledge at dor.ca.gov.
And can they follow you on social media or no? Or you're not on social
You
media?
can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Okay, that's perfect. And this will be edited later. So, Kim, I hope I have another interview with you soon. Maybe we could team up again. That would be fun.
that would be fun, Michelle.
And I hope that my final thoughts are Southern California is having a lot of fires going on. So I want to say I hope you guys are, safe from the earthquakes and the recent fires going on. Stay strong, SoCal, because I know it's tough right now, and it's yeah. So
It is. Yeah. Sending lots of love to everybody down there. So
yes. All right, Kim. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.
thanks, Michelle.
See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.